Hey everyone, my computer messed up. Today we are talking a little bit about shape, form, and space, and this is going to be the next kind of installment in our exploration of the elements of art. So we've already looked at line and pattern and contrast. We've already used some of these terms in the art that we've made. You've been creating shapes already. We've been shading in some forms, and you've been dealing with space. But now we're going to kind of address them a little more formally so that you can get a good idea of how to spot these in art and how to make them. So the things that we need to do for this project are read chapter 5 in our textbook. I will tell you all the page numbers, but this will be important so that you can remember those definitions and write them down. And then I have embedded some videos into this PowerPoint. So while I'm going to go over this PowerPoint with you now, you will need to access it again through our classroom and watch those videos for some extra kind of reiteration on these points. I think it'll help with learning the definitions. So this is a vocabulary we need to know. I've put where you can find them on each page right here. So this is talking about our textbook. If you are accessing our textbook on Google Classroom, this page number is the page number that's actually on the textbook page. At the bottom, it has this little bar and it says page 44 out of 408 or something like that. And that is the PDF document page, so that's not going to be correct. You're going to look for the page number in the bottom left or the bottom right corner of the page on the textbook. And I will show you what I mean by that right after the PowerPoint. So first we're looking at shape. This is the first video you should watch. Shape is basically a flat area that has two dimensions, and you can see a shape because it's surrounded by a line or because of the change in color. So these are all examples of shapes here. You can see that while some of these shapes don't have lines drawn around them, we can tell that it's a shape because of the color. We can see some organic shapes here as opposed to geometric shapes. So organic shapes are kind of free form, they have lots of curves, and geometric shapes are very precise. So we have a lot of angles like squares and triangles and things like that. In this painting, you can see shapes because of the color. So we can see where the color begins and ends. And although we don't have like a line drawn right here, we can tell that there's a shape. We see a lot of shapes in nature. A leaf can be a free-form shape. Trees, free-form shape. Houses might have some geometric shapes in them. So yeah, here's a painting by Ellsworth Kelly. You can see that there's a big shape up here, and then he's got that inside of a square, so geometric shape, and then another one, geometric shape. And you can kind of assume that this is the sun, and this is the sky and the ground, but it's a little bit abstract in nature. But we can tell that these are shapes because of where the colors end and begin. This other one is an example on a ceramic kind of pitcher vase object. You can see that the artist has put some glaze on this pitcher to create these circles. And then we also have maybe some freeform shapes right there, some more organic shapes. So the next word is form. And here's a cool video about form you should totally watch. So form is a little bit like shape, but form is basically three-dimensional. So it has volume, it has length, width, and height, and it can be geometric or organic. So form is basically taking everything that we know about shape and it's making it 3D. Here's an example of a form. So you can see we have these like teardrop shapes, but they're three-dimensional, so it's a form. And then this whole thing is kind of like a big rectangle with a circle on top, but it's a form instead of a shape because it's 3D. And then here is a sculpture by Sol LeWitt. these are a whole bunch of squares stacked on top of each other, but they are a form rather than a shape because they are three-dimensional. So this whole sculpture, this pyramid shape on its own is a form, but all of these little squares that make it, these are all forms as well. So the last word that we're looking at is space, and should also watch this video. But space kind of creates an illusion of depth. So we can see here we have overlapping form or shapes that create like overlap. When we shade something, we create an illusion of depth because we create like the illusion that this shape is a form. So it looks three-dimensional because we've added light and we've added shadow. We can think about different placements that create kind of the illusion of space. And what I mean by the illusion is that you can look at like a flat painting or picture, and the kind of positioning of different objects in that painting can make us feel like there's a big space or a small space. So you can see here that these circles use size and proportion. So this tiny circle looks like it's way in the back, like at the back of that table, because these circles up here are a lot bigger and they look like they're in the front. So value and focus can also play into space. We are kind of drawn to looking at this form up close, or up closer to us, because it is more in focus, because it looks like it's closer. This form kind of looks like it's pushed in the back because it's not as shaded as this one. It kind of looks like it's a little too far away, a little bit more fuzzy. And then space has a lot to do with perspective as well. And perspective is one of those words we want to pay attention to. So here's a good example of space. In this painting, we can see that there's like a figure right here, and this house and this barn look to be like all the way in the back because of the illusion of space or depth, because we can kind of make the assumption that she's like a regular human, and we know like how, kind of, how a human body looks in space, right? We see our friends every day, kind of know like how it is to occupy space as yourself. And then we can also assume that this house is like a normal sized house. So because it's so small on this picture, we can assume that this is a pretty far distance. But in reality, it's just a flat painting. But the artist has created the illusion of depth through all of the different sizes, and also through this grass too, because it's more detailed and the grass seems to be longer up here, but then it gets choppier and less detailed as we go back. And here's a painting by David Hockney. He's using line a lot here to give us the illusion of space. So it seems like this is like a hallway that's going back into this room, because these lines kind of like are bigger and then they get smaller and closer together. This little kind of flower pot vase in the back is really tiny, and then we have this bigger vase up here. So you can compare the sizes of both of those, and you can assume that this vase is like super far away. So he's creating a huge illusion of space here, although this painting is very two-dimensional, just like this last one we looked at. Cool, so there's kind of like a little overview. Those videos are really fun to watch, and we'll kind of like reiterate what we're looking at. Let's see, let's go to Art 1. For the textbook, you will need to click on your classwork tab. Should be a little bit familiar with our textbook now. And if you just want to take this kind of as you're going through this PowerPoint, you can see shape is on page 99. And I'll show you what I mean. So right here where it says page 2 out of 488, don't pay attention to that. You're looking for the number that's on the page. So let me keep scrolling a little bit. So here we see like page 7, but right here it says 24. So this is the number you need to be looking for. So I'll go ahead and show you. We need to be on page 99. It's a little bit of a ways down. It's 54. Awesome. So, oops, page 98. I meant 98. I'm going to change that. So starting on page 98, we can see the definition of shape, and then you're just going to get a couple more examples here that will explain shape and form for you again. So what we're going to be doing with this information is creating some more posters about the elements. You can draw these in your sketchbook, kind of after the sketches, the poster that we made about line. This time you should make a poster for each of these individually. So you'll have one poster for shape and one poster for form and another one for space. And these can be really simple again. You just need to have the word space, the definition written down, and then you can draw an example of space. So for this one, you could draw something like this, but make it, be creative with it. You could turn these into like fruit or something fun like that, or like popcorn, or maybe a game of marbles. That might be fun for this one. But those are just some ideas. So I will post an actual assignment for that soon, so watch for that. But we are just going to be kind of going over these words and creating some posters so that we can have something to look back on that will remind us what these mean. All right, so if you have any questions, just email me and I will answer them as soon as possible. And I hope you have fun with this one. These are kind of fun to play around with.